On paper, owning a home in Hamilton, Ancaster, or Burlington is supposed to be your financial fortress. It's the retirement plan. It's the safety net. But right now, that net is quietly snapping for thousands of local families.
The market saw a weakened demand in 2025, making it the slowest year since 2010.
If you're a homeowner waiting for the price of your property to return to post-pandemic levels, you may be in for a lengthy wait.
1989 was the last time that we saw this level of decline. Prices went down 19% in 1989. And it took a decade for prices to recover back to where the level they had been.
Chartered Professional Accountants of Canada say fueling the market correction is the slowed growth of the country's population.
Saying that housing sales will rebound in 2026 and that prices will rebound as well, to me, the conditions are not there.
We just recorded the lowest sales month in over 10 years. Prices are down 27% from the peak. But that's not the scary part.
The Canadian economy, already contending with inflation, tariffs, and a cost of living crisis, is also watching a steady and ongoing slump in the housing market. Thousands of condos are left unsold. The Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation says about 2,500 new condos are sitting empty. That's double what it was last year. The CMHC says the weakening market appears to have similarities to the crash of the early 90s. Escalating costs from material and labor are some of the factors behind this market stall.
The scary part is what happens next. Most people think this is just a dip. They think rates will drop. They think buyers will flood back into Stoney Creek and Waterdown, and the party restarts. But the data I'm looking at says the exact opposite. This isn't a dip, it's a confidence crisis. And if you're holding property in the Greater Hamilton area right now, you're standing on much thinner ice than you realize.
When housing prices go down, buyers walk away from the markets. They don't come to the market when prices are falling. Buyers return when prices are rising. And that's just human nature. You don't want to buy an asset that's losing value. Right now, people are just sitting on the fence, looking at the job market, looking at the economic uncertainty, looking at the mortgage rates.
In this video, I'm going to show you why buyers have disappeared. Then I'll give you 3 specific warnings for 2026. And finally, I'll give you the 7-day plan to protect your equity before the spring market chews it up. This is already happening to families I talk to every single day.
Realtor Hassan Juma says 2025 was grueling.
Very common to see listings on the market for 6 months, 9 months, up to a year.
This historically hot housing market gone cold, which meant tough conversations with sellers.
What you're doing is you're adjusting prices as you go, and you're not adjusting up, you're adjusting down. And so every time you're having that conversation, it's difficult.
If you're thinking about selling anywhere in the Greater Golden Horseshoe, I built a free seller guide that shows you the 7 specific ways to increase your home's value before you list, so you don't get lowballed. The link is right below. Now let's strip this down. Most real estate agents will tell you inventory is tight or it's a balanced market. That's sales talk. Here's the brutal truth. The Canadian housing dream didn't just stall, it flatlined.
We haven't seen one this bad since around 2008 now.
This economist says the trend extends to other large markets in Canada, including Toronto. This mortgage broker says mounting inventory in places like Toronto and Vancouver, including thousands of empty homes, ultimately means more options for buyers, and interest rates are also holding steady. A market cooled down after years of growth, and no telling how long the dip will last.
Across Hamilton and Burlington, there are thousands of homes, townhouses, and condos just sitting. No offers, no urgency. Brand new listings in Stoney Creek are sitting untouched. Days on market keep climbing. Price cuts are already baked in, and agents are grinding just to get someone to book a showing. Trying to sell a home in this market without a strategy is like trying to start a campfire with wet wood. You can pour on all the lighter fluid you want, but if the fuel is soaked, you're not getting any heat. Here's the part that changes everything. This slowdown arrived after borrowing costs started easing. Think about that. Rates came down, fixed mortgages softened. That was supposed to light up bidding wars in Ancaster. It was supposed to pack open houses in Binbrook. It was supposed to pull first-time buyers off the fence in downtown Hamilton. Instead, buyers stepped back even further. When lower rates don't bring people back.
We've already known from different metrics and at different times over the last year just how challenging, if not almost impossible for some, depending on what they bought, it is to sell.
The problem stops being math. It stops being about spreadsheets and stress tests. It becomes about belief. People stop asking, can I afford this? They start asking, will I regret this in 2 years? That shift flips the market upside down. This is not an affordability crisis anymore. It's a psychological one, and a psychological crisis behaves differently. In this kind of market, waiting feels like a winning strategy. Every month that passes feels like free money to buyers. 6 months from now looks like a better deal. A year from now looks like even more leverage.
This year, we've been hearing about the cost of housing continuing to drop across Canada.
Canadian real estate just fell the furthest and closest it's ever been to a buyer's market that we've seen in over a decade.
There's more price reductions each day than sales.
The prices of homes have dropped significantly since their peak in 2022.
Once that mindset takes hold, urgency evaporates. When urgency dies, price discovery collapses. Buyers see a listing sit for 30, 60, even 90 days in West Hamilton. They don't feel fear of missing out. They feel validation. They say I was right to wait, so they wait longer. Sellers watch their neighbors cut prices. They terminate listings, they relist lower, or they decide not to list at all. They say we'll wait for things to bounce back. But that delay builds a backlog. Backlogs create pressure, and pressure eventually forces cuts. This is the trap. But before I show you the data on condos, I need you to see the one number that terrifies me the most. In exactly 60 seconds, I'm going to show you a chart that flips this entire situation on its head. It's the data point that explains why waiting might be the most expensive mistake you ever make. But first, you have to see where the trap is snapping shut the hardest. You see the pattern most clearly in condos, and Hamilton's condo market is the canary in the coal mine. Downtown Hamilton, James Street, along King, along Main, the waterfront, around McMaster. These units were sold as the safe entry ramp to home ownership. Smaller units, smaller price tags, easy to rent, easy to flip. But now that ramp is broken.
In Canada's housing market, condos are the weakest link. The steepest drop in sales and prices, here's why.
So this is one of my listings. We've had this one on the market for just under 3 months.
Real estate agent Sean Miller says new listings are piling up on the condo market. Units that once would have sold in days can now take weeks.
We've got 7 months of inventory, which is insane. And we just don't have the buyers to absorb it. We haven't seen that much inventory in 20 years.
With so many properties to choose from, buyers are looking for deals, and sellers can no longer demand the hefty prices of a few years ago.
If you're a seller and you don't have something that's amazing, it's tricky, and you've got to be realistic.
A record wave of newly built condos is also adding to supply. Nearly 30,000 units were completed last year, and there are more coming online.
What we're seeing now with all of this supply coming to completion is actually a reflection of demand conditions that existed 2 or 3 years ago. And that doesn't exist anymore. We haven't seen sales volumes running this low again since probably the 1990s. We're pretty much at a recession in the condo market.
Pre-construction projects that sold out in a weekend back in 2021 are now getting delayed, rephased, or converted entirely. Investors who thought they'd never have to close are now staring at real closing dates, real mortgage approvals, and real negative cash flow. But here's what you haven't heard yet. The problem isn't just the supply, it's who owns it. Across the Greater Toronto area, over 26,000 condos are scheduled to hit the market over the next 18 months. And a massive chunk of that supply bleeds straight into Hamilton and Burlington through investor spillover. The pipeline is full, the demand is not. That mismatch forces ugly choices. It's like ordering 50 pizzas for a party, and only 3 people show up. 2 of them are lactose intolerant. You're stuck with inventory, and it's getting cold fast. Developers start delaying projects, lenders start tightening terms. Pre-sales fall short, so financing gets pulled. Entire buildings get paused, redesigned, or canceled.
This building was supposed to be Dimitri Bazio's retirement plan. Instead, it could force him into bankruptcy.
It's causing stress and distress and misery.
In 2020, Bazios and his wife put down a deposit for a 600-square-foot condo valued at $884,000. But as interest rates rose and the condo market fell, keeping the investment property became impossible. The Bazios couldn't close on their condo, and it was recently sold on assignment for $590,000. They're now on the hook to cover the difference.
And now I have a mortgage on this property for $300,000 and I don't own it.
The Bazio story is becoming more common where condo sales have plummeted. In condo sales were down 21% in the second quarter compared to the year before, with many forced to sell their units at a loss.
Which brings us back to that number I promised you, and this is the part that nobody talks about. If you adjust for inflation, Hamilton homeowners haven't just lost 27%, they've been losing buying power every single month for 3 years. While sellers are holding out for 2022 prices, the real value of that money is eroding. Waiting for the market to bounce back isn't free. It's costing you real wealth in real terms every single day you sit on the sidelines. So let's take a breath and talk about what you actually do about it. Look, I know what you're thinking right now. Here comes the realtor telling me the sky is falling, so I'll list my house and he can get a commission. I get it. It's a fair thought. But here's the truth. I make these videos for the 99% of people I'll never work with, because I'm tired of watching good families lose their equity because they were waiting for a market that doesn't exist anymore. I don't need you to sell. I need you to survive. And there is one decision that separates the people who survive this reset from the ones who lose everything they built. That decision is simple. Are you selling a house or are you selling a future? Because in this kind of market, buyers are looking for reasons to say no. If your home has friction, if it shows poorly, if the pricing feels off, if it smells like work, they're gone. And the longer you sit, the more brutal the price cuts get. In a market like this, hope is not a strategy. Trying to time the market perfectly is like waiting for perfect weather in February. You'll freeze to death before it ever feels ideal. This isn't about panic, it's about preparation. It's about knowing when to act before the storm gets worse. So if you're thinking of selling in the next 12 to 24 months anywhere in the Hamilton area, you need to do 3 things right now. First, stop looking at sales data from 2022. It's gone. Second, look at your friction points, the things that give buyers permission to walk away. And third, get the data that actually matters. I built a free seller guide with the 7 specific ways to increase your home's value in a declining market. No fluff, no paint your front door nonsense. Just the upgrades that actually move buyers in a slow market, the repairs that protect you from lowball offers, and the cosmetic changes you can skip completely. The link is in the description. Download it, go through it this week, then decide if you're really prepared for what's next. Because hope is not a strategy. I'm Mike with Selling in Hamilton. Stay sharp out there.